Hey there guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be going through the top 5 best Matt Smith 11th Doctor stories. Thank you so much for your support on my previous 4th Doctor videos, link to them in the description below, but at the end of those 4th Doctor videos, I say in a poll at the end which Doctor you wanted me to do a video on next, and guys, you demolished it. You all wanted me to talk about the 11th Doctor, so I am going to bring it. I was there 10 years ago to watch his first episode, the 11th hour, as it was broadcast. I will always have a soft spot for the 11th Doctor because he is the first one I watched and fully understood. This guy, through some amazing writing and acting and character work, became the first Doctor that I understood and the first Doctor that I wanted to watch. Because of this, he basically lit the spark for Doctor Who for me, which, well, if it weren't for that spark, you wouldn't be watching this video. Now, a couple of quick rules. Two-parters, they're just going to be counted as one whole story, and the other thing I want to go through is, guys, this is just my opinion. Don't get too upset by whatever you see in this list, whatever appears, whatever doesn't appear, it's all just my own opinion. We're all friends. Unless you're an Auton. Now, one other thing I want to say is...
spoilers.
And now let's go on through a few honourable mentions, the first of which being the Pandorica Open / the Big Bang, a town called Mercy, and lastly, the Angels Take Manhattan. Now, let's get on to this video. Coming first up at number 5, we have got Day of the Doctor, and I just couldn't leave this episode out. I love it so much. The acting is brilliant, as this one saw the debut of the War Doctor and the first reappearance of the 10th Doctor since he'd regenerated, and the way that the War Doctor, the 10th Doctor, and the 11th Doctor bounce off each other are just so brilliant. All the references that happen in this episode just feel quite natural and are really satisfying as it goes on, that despite the fact it's fan service, it honestly never really bothered me. I think the dialogue is excellent, I think the pacing is really good, and all of the deeper themes and conflicts are really well handled. The character of the War Doctor is really well explored in this one, not as well as all the other Doctors could be, but that's fine. I feel like this episode was able to mark a place in Doctor Who history, both for being incredibly celebratory, but also to tell its own contained story and have a lasting effect on the story as a whole. Now sure, you could say there's an overabundance of fan service, maybe there's some plot lines that don't need to be there, maybe there's some problems with fluidity, but I don't really care, because for what this episode was trying to do, which is conclude all of the stuff with a Time War, and be a really good celebration of Doctor Who, and yeah, it absolutely succeeded at that. It's just one hell of an experience. Next up we have Amy's Choice. Now this one was laser focused on the dilemma going on inside Amy's head. What does she choose, a life with the Doctor or a life with Rory? And this one, I think, really well explores it. She sees sides of each world. However, the interesting way that this occurs is it's not only occurring from her perspective, but we're also seeing this dilemma from both Rory and the Doctor's perspective, which I think makes things really interesting. I think that way that the TARDIS crew bounce off each other is so interesting in this story. It has a really unique look to it and a really unique theme to it. I always like episodes that focus on the emotional side of companions because it's able to really flesh out the TARDIS crew and give them so many interesting things to do. This has got such an original plot, an interesting story, some great pacing and some brilliant acting. I really like the mystery plot idea of it, and I think the way that characters attempt to solve it is fascinating. There's some really good dialogue in this one, and overall, I just found this one to be really interesting, and it absolutely succeeded at its purpose. Hence, it's at number 4. At number 3, we have The God Complex, which is a story that very deeply explores themes of faith and fear, and I think the way it explores it is so interesting, and the way that they build all around it and develop the various characters and their relations to faith and fear, I think is really well executed. Now, I know I condemned The Horns of Nimon in my top 5 worst 4th Doctor stories, yet somehow the writers were able to take the dull idea of this plot and make it into something really interesting. Like I said, it's got a really interesting story, but in addition to that, the characters are well developed, the pacing is stellar, the directing is excellent in this. My god, this is well shot, and I think the plot is really well handled. There's a lot of bits of light humour in here, and I was invested the whole way through. Therefore, it absolutely deserves a place in the top 3. What a solid post-regeneration story. This was the first episode to introduce us to the 11th Doctor and to Amy Pond, and my god, it did such a brilliant job. Now, like I said, I was here 10 years ago to watch this episode, and I loved it. This really is the episode that made me love Doctor Who, so I guess that's probably the main reason I'm putting it here. But in addition to that, it paces so well, it's able to laser focus on its characters and develop them really well. I think the acting's really good, the directing's excellent, the music is phenomenal, the dialogue's great, and all around it's just a good concept that they turned into an amazing script. It does such a good job introducing us to this new Doctor and this new era of the show with some fantastic writing and behind the scenes work that it just connected immediately. This is such a fun episode to watch, and it's a brilliant introduction to the show. Therefore, I've got to recommend it to anyone that wants to start out Matt Smith's run. Hence, it's got to be at number 2. And at number 1 we have Vincent and the Doctor. An episode that I don't think we will ever have in Doctor Who again. The idea of an artist being chased and hunted by a beast that metaphorically represents his depression is such a deep and rich idea thematically that I don't think it could be done again. This story largely focuses on depression and all of the baggage that comes with it through the eyes of Vincent van Gogh as well as the Doctor and Amy. And because of that, I think the acting is fantastic, especially Tony Curran. I think he's brilliant. I think that this is a really emotional story. It's heartbreaking. I think a lot of the irony and the tragedy, as well as the sweeter moments of it, are really well done here. I think the direction's brilliant, and I especially like how certain shots are made to mimic the colour and the layout of various Van Gogh paintings. This one is a character study. It's really not about the monster at the end of the day. It's about exploring what happens to people throughout time. And because of that, it's just heartbreaking. It's a riveting story that's very slow paced and is a slow burn that absolutely pays off. It just goes in places that I never thought Doctor Who would ever dare to go. And not only is it great for Doctor Who, all around it's just great television. It's moving, it's emotional, it's fantastically made. It's one of the best Doctor Who episodes ever. Thank you everybody for watching, that is the end of the video. However, before you all go, soon there will be a top 5 worst 11th Doctor stories video. And in order for you guys to stay tuned for that, please be able to subscribe down below. I know you guys haven't already, so you might as well just quickly click the button down below. And in addition to that, I do have a couple of other things I want to quickly talk about. For starters, after I have finished with Matt Smith, I am going to be doing some more videos on other movies and TV shows. However, of course, I will continue the Doctor Who series, which is where you come in. Which Doctor would you like me to do my next video on? Would you like me to do it on the 2nd Doctor, Patrick Troughton, or the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy? And in addition to that, I want to shout out Veritaserum UK, a channel that has been doing custom-made trailers for every single Doctor Who story I have talked about so far. He has done a huge number of them on his YouTube channel, based on both the classic series and the new series, so please go and check them out. There's some amazing trailers. And in addition to that, I also want to shout out my own podcast, the Cooped Up Podcast. So far we've covered all sorts of movies and shows, and we'll be sure to cover some more as lockdown continues to be boring. I don't really have a lot else to do, as you might have guessed. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, like and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.